Listen, I did film and television studies at university for 3 years. I spent hours reading countless books and articles on subjects spanning from film all the way to television. Not a single one mentioned Hugh Grant once.
I achieved the hardest qualification across any university or college ever, a 2-1 in history. Let me tell you, the only thing that I learned was that we, as a society, have a history of denying and neglecting Hugh Grant's artistic and cultural relevance, not just in this country, but in the entire world.
I met Oscar at a Hugh Grant-themed event I put on at the Students' Union.
It felt as though Diggory and I were the only ones there, and we agreed that there was a Hugh Grant-shaped hole in academia.
We decided to put it right ourselves. We want to show people that he's an icon in acting.
We want to show people he's more than just a bumbling posh guy.
I'm Diggory Waite.
And I'm Oscar Beardmore Gray. And this is...
Taking Hugh for Granted.
Hello there, you're listening to Taking Hugh for Granted, the show in which two friends watch every single film starring Hugh Grant in an attempt to answer the simple and never asked question: are we taking Hugh for granted? Is this film good on its own, or does it rely on the bumbling Brit for its acclaim? This week, as every week, I'm joined by Oscar Beardmore Gray. Oscar, say hello.
Hi everyone, great to be here. I think I'm feeling a bit better than you, Diggory. You got a bit of a cold there, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, and I've got to say, the film, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, and I was just saying to Oscar beforehand, either people will think this is, kind of like Phoebe in Friends when she sings Sexy Cat and she has a bit of a cold and everyone thinks it's really hot, or they're going to think, ugh, this is disgusting, I'm literally hearing a man phlegm out of his mouth. So do bear with us, listeners. Maybe I'll have to blow my nose at some point, drink some water, shit my pants. There will be moments that maybe these things happen. But today we're talking about Bridget Jones, or Bridget Jones's Diary, and I don't think there could have been a better day for me to be ill. It was just perfect viewing for how I feel today. I was sat in bed, I felt like rubbish, and I just watched. It's just the perfect film for that. But how did you watch it, Oscar?
I watched it a couple of days ago. I was in good spirits actually, and I came out of the film in pretty decent spirits too. So I mean, this film, more than anyone, I think, has a bit of a cult following. So I'm really going to try my best to do it justice. But there is a lot to talk about and a lot to unpack, I think.
There certainly is.
I just wanted to start, Diggory, with a bit of exciting news that just came through my Facebook Messenger. So another old friend of mine, I seem to be a fairly well-connected person, clearly, said to me, hey, mate, really enjoying the podcast. I may have gotten Hugh to listen to it. He is one of my best mate's cousins, and I mentioned it the other day. We'll let you know if there's a reaction.
Mate, no way. Oh my God, no way. Holy
this could
shit.
be the beginning.
This is huge. So, also I say this is huge. Mate, this is, oh God. Because people keep asking me, they keep going, oh, and, does Hugh know about it? I mean, this is huge, man. We need a confirmation on something. This is crazy. This
I know.
Could be
and what a coincidence. He sends me this message literally just as I'm about to start recording this podcast.
Yeah, this
today.
is the first time I've heard it. You talk about this.
Yeah, and I said, no way, mate. That is absolutely cracking. Any way we could get a contact for an interview, went straight in there.
Nice.
Couldn't have come at a better time. And he said, we'll let you know if I hear anything more. Was just playing golf with said friend, and he said Hugh would probably love it. We'll let you know if he gets back on it.
This is massive. This is massive. Okay, Oscar, this is huge. The thing is, even if it's not, we do need to start preparing some interview questions. We are the ambassadors right now of taking you for granted.
What are you talking about? Prepare interview questions. I've been thinking about interview questions every night while I'm going to sleep.
That's what we can think about. Thing is, I'm thinking about Hugh Grant, but in a different way before I go to sleep. So that's fine. But what we'll do is we'll marry those two things, and we'll try and create some sort of great thing. Oh, Oscar, mate.
I want him on the show.
I want him on the show, man. I want him on the show. We've got to start smashing out Hugh Grant films like nobody's business. I can't wait to talk to him about The Lair of the White Worm. I can't wait to talk to him about The Bengali Night. I can't wait to talk about Maurice. I can't wait to talk about this film. Oh, mate. Oscar, honestly, it's too soon. This is all moving too fast.
Yeah, I know. It's moving a bit fast. You did say it's not a definite, so I wouldn't go shouting about it, which I've literally just done. So
I feel like
calm down.
I've been like I've been on a few dates with someone and I'm suddenly thinking we're going to get married. Chill out.
Maybe we should talk about the film before we sort of fall over in disbelief and.
Indeed. Let's get right to talking about the film, and let's have a little word from Synopsis Simon.
Bridget Jones' Diary, directed by Sharon Maguire and released in 2001. Bridget Jones, played by Renée Zellweger, is an average woman struggling with her perceived imperfections, like her age, her weight, her job, and her lack of a man. As a New Year's resolution, she decides to take control of her life by starting a diary in which she will always tell the complete truth. When her charming, though disreputable boss, Daniel Cleaver, played by Hugh Grant, takes an interest in her, Bridget finds it hard to stay away, despite her better judgement. Perhaps Mark Darcy, played by Colin Firth, is a better fit for her. For now, it's Sunday morning. Bridget has woken up with a headache, a hangover, and her boss.
Diggs, initial thoughts on Hugh Grant in Bridget Jones's Diary?
Oscar. So the last couple of weeks we've looked at About a Boy and we've looked at Notting Hill, and I feel like this his character in this is kind of the marriage between the two. He's wearing his shirts. Well, he's wearing suits in this, but like unbuttoned top shirt. He's got his jacket on, and he's got this. His hair is great, like curtains, but like swept back. And his character is sort of a marriage between the despicableness of his About a Boy character, but the look of his character in Notting Hill. He is so evil, and just like with About a Boy,
He's so evil.
He's so evil. He's despicable. Just like with About a Boy, every time he was on screen, everything he said, it's so sleazy and disgusting, and I love it. I love every second of it. He's just such
so believable though as well.
That's the thing, though. It's so believable. I absolutely. And what's funny actually is the director Sharon Maguire, in one of the interviews I saw with her, she said, funny enough, it's the closest to how he actually is in real life than any of his other classic rom-com roles, which I thought was funny. But what do you think about Hugh?
I would say that this is honestly the peak of his physical look.
Yeah,
you know, we've gone past the almost like teenagery curtain hair to a more slick and polished look. And that moment when you first see him, where the camera just is him coming out of the lift, and he's just got his perfect hair sort of behind his ears, and I like the length of it as well. It's really
nice
suave.
length.
Yeah.
Really nice length.
And yeah, he plays that good-looking, the bloke that you shouldn't fall in love with but do. Absolutely spot on.
Exactly. Everything he says, it's you know, it's like the words are snakes slithering out of his mouth, and they're so disgusting, and they're you know, he's such a, but they're quick-witted, and they're foxy, they're sly. And you hate it, but like you hate it because you think this guy, like she says, like when she's writing her diary, epitomizes everything that she doesn't want.
Resolution number 1. Ooh. Obviously, we'll lose £20. Number 2. Always put last night's pants in the laundry basket. Equally important, we'll find nice, sensible boyfriend to go out with and not continue to form romantic attachments to any of the following: alcoholics, workaholics, commitment phobics, peeping toms, megalomaniacs, emotional fuckwits, or perverts. And especially will not fantasize about a particular person who embodies all these things. What you want, baby, I got. What you need, you know I got it. Unfortunately, he just happens to be my boss, Editor-in-Chief Daniel Cleaver. And for various slightly unfair reasons relating to this year's Christmas party, I suspect he does not fantasize about me.
That's what I came for.
Exactly it. Oh, mate, it's so good because, and it's a role that I don't think we've seen before or since from Hugh. It's funny because before this, I think this is him going back to his roots when he was doing a lot of TV and a lot of smaller films, going back to being the villain, but villain in his sphere of the rom-com. So it's a role that he completely takes on his own, and he absolutely smashes it. And like you said before, it's so believable. I was like, he's not playing into it too much that I'm like, this is a caricature. I'm like, this guy is just a full-on bastard.
And I personally enjoy watching evil Hugh more than soppy Hugh. Like, the guy who just like the sort of nice. He actually said in an interview about how he enjoyed playing this film because he wasn't playing the nice guy anymore. And that's just so refreshing to see, because the nice guy, let's be honest, is boring. The wicked, seedy guy who can't keep his dick in his pants is a better version, in my opinion.
It's great, and that's the thing. I think the reason for that is, like you say, if he's having fun, then it translates like on set, which he famously never does. He hates being on set. He hates acting, but if he's having fun, then that translates on the screen, and we can see that. And that was definitely the case with this film. It was the case with Paddington 2. It's the case in all of these films where he takes this sort of role, and he was just delightful. If I can just say as well, just before we do move on, if we do, about his look, that moment when he falls into the water when they're on the paddling boats, and he gets out of the water, and his shirt is drenched and it sticks to his body, and his hair is all wet, and he's got that floppy cigarette in his mouth. He is ripped.
Yeah, I know. This is definitely the best, like, in physical shape. Like I was saying, he's looked.
Mate, he looks so good. Honestly, I look, as you guys well know, I fancy Hugh Grant, but oh my God, I've never fancied him so much in my life than in that scene. Because I kept seeing that as a GIF on Twitter, and I kept thinking, when am I going to see this film? I want to know what film this is in. Oh boy, was I not.
You weren't disappointed.
No, as a little young person, sat in my bed today, watching on my laptop, feeling sorry for myself and feeling ill. That was the serious pick-me-up I needed. Whoo, boy.
It's stored back there somewhere now, is it, Diggs?
Yeah, I've made a deposit. Don't you worry about that. I actually got the link to the website, made a note of the timing, and put that as a post-it note next to my bed. Anyway, let's cut that.
Somebody after some transition music. Right. That'll do. Good.
Let's talk then about another star actor in the film, Renée Zellweger, who is an Oscar winner. She's won one of your awards. Oscar, what did you think of Renée's performance in this film?
You know what? This was a refreshing rom-com where the woman character held her own. Thank goodness. And she didn't just hold her own. She is the film. She's the film. She's brilliant. And I mean, there was a lot of chat before the film started, before it was aired and stuff, and people knew there was a new rom-com of Colin Firth and Hugh Grant, that she, as an American, was trying to play the sort of hopeless English girl. And I honestly thought that she was English. Like, mate, I don't know that much about her, but English accent is flawless.
So I went to an Oscar viewing party the other night, and when she won her Oscar for Judy, and she opened her mouth, and she had this Texan accent. I was like, what world have I walked into? What's going on? Is she acting right now? What's she doing? What's going on here? And then I watched it today, and I thought, okay, well, maybe she, it's one of the classic cases. She was born in America and then, went to boarding school in Britain for 18 years and then came back. No, she just had an incredible dialect coach and absolutely smashed the accent. I can't believe how good it is. I've never seen such a good accent from a non-English person. It's
there's a brilliant there's a brilliant interview with Hugh where he's asked about Renée's accent.
How was her British English, do you think?
Well, ultimately impeccable. But I'm not, I mean, it's not to say it didn't go through some interesting stages of metamorphosis. I seem to remember the read-through. At the read-through we had Princess Margaret, basically. Really? Yes, it was extremely posh. Posher than anyone I'd ever heard in my life. Yeah.
What does it sound like?
A bit like the Queen's speech. My husband and I are delighted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. A bit like that. But, you know, not bad, just a bit posh. And then she tried to take the edge off it, and she sounded great, but slightly as though she'd had a stroke. She started getting drooling like that. It's like half her face had collapsed.
As English speakers with British accents, 10 out of 10, Renée.
Yeah.
And we have to mention also briefly Hugh's little joke about Renée at the BAFTAs a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely.
Yes.
And one of our fans actually was tweeting about it and she got a real following on one of her tweets about that.
Yeah, I think that was Megan. So I think that's Megan. So check that out. Shout out to you, Megan. Hello if you're listening. But yeah, and so Renée Zellweger won the I think leading actor award at the BAFTAs, and Hugh came on to present, I think, Best Picture. I think.
Well, first of all, well done, Jones. That was a very, very silly little dress, I thought.
It was very, very good. And they had a little cuddle afterwards by the side of the stage, which I thought was great. But yeah, just going back to her performance in this film, I want to pick up on something you said at the beginning of this little segment about Renée, when you said that you were worried, you know, you see another rom-com with Hugh Grant and Colin Firth, and like we've talked about week after week, is that we're going to get yet another female character who has, you know, who doesn't really have a personality. Especially, I was worried about that when I saw Richard Curtis's name on the, like, in the screenplay billing. Man, I got a bit worried. But thing is, right, not only is the writing in this film is really good, but there are a few times when you just think to yourself, I genuinely don't think anyone else could have played that role. You're not Renée Zellweger anymore. You are Bridget Jones. No one ever could do that role the same way that you did. I just think she absolutely smashed it. I heard that apparently she put on £25 for it. I read somewhere that she went and did she went and spent a month in a production company, and she had like, everyone thought apparently she was really weird, and she had a picture of Jim Carrey, who was her then boyfriend, on her desk.
That's Joe says she dated Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I know, but like as Hugh Grant says in plenty of interviews, he's like, she's as mad as a chair. What he said one. Oh no, that was who said that about Emma Thompson. No, but he does say that Renée Zellweger is absolutely
She says she's
crazy.
Mentally unstable. That's how he described her in an Oprah Winfrey interview.
Well, there we go. And I think Jim Carrey, as we all know, is absolutely bananas as well. But I just think this role, it's just perfect. She's just perfect for it, and she absolutely smashed it. At no point did I think that's Renée Zellweger, and she's, you know, I was watching someone who was acting. I forever, since I saw this film for the first time when I was a kid to now, have just looked at that and been like, that is the truest account of this story that we could ever see. I just think it's a great performance.
And Hugh and Bridget, well, Hugh and Renée have a really good chemistry on screen, I'd say.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's not often that Hugh doesn't have a good chemistry with his co-star. At least on screen, but look, I
love the bit when Bridget is sort of resigning from the office.
Well, I just think you should know that Simon, you know, there are lots of prospects here for a talented person. Yeah, just give me a minute, will you, Simon? Thanks.
Right-ho, boss man.
Lots of prospects for a person who, you know, perhaps for personal reasons has been slightly overlooked professionally.
Thank you, Daniel. That is very good to know. But if staying here means working within 10 yards of you, frankly, I'd rather have a job wiping Saddam Hussein's arse.
Little mention of Saddam Hussein, a name that I haven't heard in so long.
I know. That just shows the date, how dated this film is now. 19 years ago, this film. I bet that's making some of you feel old.
Yeah, man, it's certainly making me feel old. But yeah, can't praise her enough. What a performance.
Look out the window. Look out the window. Look out the window. It's Hugh Grant in a Pret.
That's perhaps a nice, as you often say, a nice segue to talking about another character in this film, Mr. Darcy, Colin Firth, who, talking about Richard Curtis liking to cast people who have absolutely no character or personality, don't say anything, and somehow we're meant to like them. This is our guy, but in a man form this time. Oh my God, I hate this man.
Oh, mate, I'm so glad that we've got round to this. What a shit. I mean, look, I was just, because at first I was like, right, she meets him at the party and he's just really like closed off and like horrible and weird. And I was like, okay, well, eventually he's going to turn around and we're going to like love him. And I was waiting and I was waiting and I was waiting, and the credits rolled. And I was like, what? He never got a personality. He never stopped being a grumpy bastard. And I never fancied him. What's going on there?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is, because I think that there are, at the time, clearly, that something we can't connect to is that everyone, the world was swooning over Colin Firth. He said in an interview that he didn't, you know the line where he's like, I like you very much just as you are, which is, seems like an obvious thing to say when you like someone, but he said in an interview that he was absolutely amazed by the impact that line has had on people, and is one of the lines that people, when they see him in the streets, etc., come up and say, that is that is what I think about when I think of Colin Firth. And
Blimey.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't see Colin Firth as this like sex symbol that a lot of people clearly do. I mean, you put Hugh Grant and Colin Firth next to each other, and there's one clear winner all the way.
And as the runners and riders head for home with 3 furlongs remaining here, it's still neck and neck between Mark Darcy riding Colin Firth in the red hat and Christmas jumper flannels, and Daniel Cleaver in royal colours sitting gracefully atop the beautiful stallion that is Hugh Grant. Wow, what a horse he is. Flowing locks, stunning presentation, and the physique of a true champion. And here they are, approaching the final fence, and oh, I say, Colin Firth has unseated Mark Darcy, and he's down and out. What a calamitous mistake right here at the end. The bookies were saying beforehand that Colin Firth lacked character in big moments and had the personality of a fish, and he really has quite literally fluffed his lines here. And as they approach the finish now, there's one clear winner all the way, the one and only Hugh Grant, who runs away with it and who will write his own chapter in the diaries of horse racing history. It's going to be victory for Grant by a country mile, and poor old Colin Firth is back there caked in mud with cuts all over his face and his wiry hair sodden from falling in horse shit.
Look at it. Look at this film. Yes, Daniel Cleaver, Hugh Grant is a maniacal, sexist pig, right? He's a horrible, horrible man. But put that next to boring fart face, like
who wears bad Christmas jumpers.
Yeah. But I know. But the thing is, as well, is this is partly perhaps Colin's fault and partly the fault of the director and stuff like that, but he plays it so dead. Like I feel like his face stays the same shape the entire way, and his voice stays the same as well. And I like you just the way you are. But his face doesn't move, his mouth barely opens, and you just think, well, I'm not. And some of his lines, are quite funny and quite quick and maybe quite cute, but I don't feel any of that in how he says it. It's like he's reading it off a teleprompter and just and like completely deadpan, like he's like a TV reporter. I'm not falling in love with that.
Yeah, at the end, like the very end of the film, where he walks out, he reads Bridget's diary, and she's written all these horrible things about him ages ago. Then he walks out into the street in the snow, classic, and then Bridget runs after him, and then he's like got this. It turns out that he's just gone to buy Bridget a new diary, and he's like, "I bought you a new diary," and then they get off, and that's the end, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what? Right. I mean, can I just say, first off, what a play. If that's serious, then fair play to the guy. I mean, he goes out at what? It must be late in the evening, finds a shop just around the corner where he knows he's going to be selling a diary, like a lovely one that looks almost exactly the same as well, a ring-bound diary. And he's like, oh, I was going to get you a new one to fill it out. I mean, look, again, as I say, fair play to the lad. What a play. But the way... That's meant to be the crux of the film. We're talking about the crescendo, the big moment.
I know. And I think, you know what, I'm conscious that we're going to be getting a lot of hate for hating on Colin Firth.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and for example, I know my mum fancies the pants off Colin Firth.
Yeah.
So we're going to be getting hate from our core listeners, which is our middle-aged mums, I'm afraid. But I can't get behind it. And Hugh is a far better actor, I think, in my opinion, than Colin here. And also, we're just going to hate on Colin because, like, to create that
well, look.
rivalry.
Colin Firth and Hugh Grant are from the same mould. They're, you know, posh, suave British actors who are in a lot of these kind of films, right? They're from a similar generation. Actually, do you know what? I think they were born a day apart. I'm not even joking, which is kind of mad.
Brothers.
In every interview I've seen, they kind of like spar off each other and like kind of have little digs at each other. In this film, they're literally put head to head. Who do you think I'm going to back? Who do you think I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I like that guy? No, I'm not. I am like Colin Firth. I don't want to, I was going to say some really horrible stuff, but look, guys, don't get me wrong. Love who you love. That's great. But for me, Colin Firth is now and forever our pantomime villain. We are, as much as I am a Hugh Grant fan, I am a Colin Firth hater.
But, I mean, I guess that leads us on perfectly to we actually have a physical altercation in this film, which is the fight scene, which is a brilliant Hugh Grant scene. You can't beat it. Like you said, these two people who have never in their entire lives had a fight. The closest they got to a fight is probably an arm wrestle in like year 6 break.
Yeah. And now they're going toe to toe.
Yeah, they're going toe to toe in the middle of the street, throwing haymakers at one another.
Whose side are we on?
Mark, obviously. He's never dumped Bridget, some naked American.
And he said he liked her just the way she is. Yes, but he also nicked Daniel's fiancée and left him broken hearted.
Good point. It's a very hard one to call.
I'm so sorry.
All right.
What I do love about this, though, is that they both talk about this in the interviews and stuff, is that apparently they did, they had their, like, fight, stunt coordinators were like, okay, so, we're thinking about maybe doing this for the fight scene and stuff. And then, rightfully, Hugh and Colin were like, look, we are two middle-class, posh blokes. We've never been in a fight in our lives. There's no way we'd be throwing, like a right hook, then a left hook, then you're going under like that. He also did when he was pretending to be the stunt coordinator, he did the voice from The Gentleman, which I loved, Hugh. But he was like, they usually say like, do a right hook, do a left hook, do all that. And they were like, no. The way we would fight and the way we have fought in our own lives is scrappy. We don't know how to fight. It's rubbish. And that, the only bit in the fight really that has any sort of, I wouldn't say class to it, but when they throw each other through the window, that's kind of like a spectacular fight scene of Hollywood. But the rest of it is just your bog standard fight that you see outside a pub.
And to be fair, Hugh deserved to get punched in the face.
It's not great.
Sorry, Hugh.
Yeah,
mate.
Yeah, in this film, you fully deserved it. But I'm not going to lie, at the same time, when you play dirty and when Hugh gets the dustbin lid and smacks Colin over the head with it, I was clapping. I was, because...
Round of applause.
Exactly. I was just happy to see it. That's for all the times that, Well, that's just basically for being Colin Firth and unfortunately being born around the same time and being an actor like Hugh.
Taking he for granted. Taking he for granted. Taking he for granted. What did you think, lads? Were they taking he for granted?
Diggs. Bridget Jones's Diary. Are we taking Hugh for granted?
Oscar, I think for my money, we are not taking Hugh for granted. I think Hugh Grant, like we said earlier, he is devilish, he is dark, he's seedy, he's sexy. That's great. It's a Hugh Grant we love to see, and he's having fun with the role, we're having fun with the role. Renée Zellweger, as I said before, she is Bridget Jones. Incredible accent, incredible performance. It's just, she completely made the role her own. Yes, the film has Colin Firth in it, bleh, but otherwise, I just think it's a great film, and and like you say, it's a cult film. It defines. It really is. It's an institution in its own way. So I would say Hugh Grant is part of a good film. So we're not taking Hugh for granted. What about yourself?
I'm not quite as gung-ho for this film as you are, if I'm being completely honest. I came away from the film a little bit with slightly mixed feelings. I think Hugh's character is a lot more is fun and engaging, and I liked it more than the sort of soppy, lovable characters that he plays in some of his other films.
Yeah.
But it's just having seen Hugh's brilliance in stuff later on in his career and some of the other slightly left of field things that we've watched. There's part of me that's just like, I know that you can do a little bit more than this. But having said that, I still really enjoyed the film in general. And like you said, this is an institution in many people's lives. And, you know, people are talking about Bridget Jones still. And of course, we can't forget this was a book as well. And of course, there was a second film as well. And Bridget Jones's Baby, which is also a cracking film, by the way, if you haven't seen that.
Oh, really? Is it good?
Yeah, Bridget Jones's Baby is fantastic. You should go watch that. I think that's on Netflix as well. So you can.
I will. Well, we're gonna have to watch the second one because obviously Hugh's in this, so I'm sure we'll get around to the third one at some point. Yeah. So do we have a definitive answer from you though on whether Hugh is being taken for granted?
I'm gonna say no. He's not been taken for granted.
Okay.
Because, for the reasons you said, he's really, you know, I love how evil he is. You know, things like telling straight up lying to Bridget about the fact that Colin Firth cheated on with his wife when it was the other way round. Only evil people would come up with a scheme like that.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect. Well, that is another episode in the bag. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I do apologise again for my voice and my sniffling, but it wasn't too bad. I only shit myself twice.
and fans out there, tell us what you think about Bridget Jones, because, you know, some of we've got some very loyal listeners out there who say they love the show, but, you know, I want to know, did you like our opinion? Did you hate it? Is there stuff we could improve?
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. You know where to find us. We're just search up Taking Hugh for Granted and you'll find us on the various places there. Just want to say thank you once again, listener. We love you just the way you are. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
Bye. For copyright reasons, the producers of Taking Hugh for Granted would like to state that this podcast is in no way associated with the actor Hugh John Mungo Grant, nor does it endorse his views or represent him in any way.
Hello, everyone who stayed for after the music. You cheeky, saucy devils. Oscar and I are still here. Oscar, I'm going to put something to you. Did you spot in this film Mr. Fitzherbert, or should I say Mr. Tits Pervert? Did you recognise him by any chance?
No. Was he the fat guy? The policeman in The Lair of the White Worm? Are you kidding?
Yes, he was the policeman in The Lair of the White Worm. He's the one that gets chased around by Peter Capaldi.
That is absolutely class. I didn't realise that, mate.
He does have quite a distinctive face, and then suddenly I looked at it, and And it's that bit when he looks at Bridget's boobs, and then she's like, "Oh, that's Mr. Tits Pervert," and I was like, "Hang on a minute, I know you, mate, I know you." So Hugh and Mr. Fitzherbert have shared the stage before. So if you don't know what we're talking about, if you haven't seen it already, go back and listen to one of our episodes, The Lair of the White Worm. I believe it's episode 2, and you'll know everything that we're talking about, and you'll learn about the chase scene. Check it out, it's a great episode, and you'll hear about the origins of Mr. Fitzherbert, or should I say Mr. Tits Pervert.